You're about to listen to a new episode of Audio Signals. Get ready to take a journey into the known, the unknown, and everything in between. Recorded at no specific point in time nor space, ITSP Magazine's co-founders Marco Ciappelli and Sean Martin follow their passion and curiosity as they venture away from the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society to discover new stories worth being told. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Nintex is the global standard for business process management and automation. The Nintex platform helps their clients accelerate progress on their digital transformation journeys by quickly and easily managing, automating, and optimizing business processes. Learn more at nintex.com.
Blue Lava is the first business platform for CISOs to manage their security program. Blue Lava guides security leaders to effectively measure, optimize, and communicate their security program with confidence and ease in one platform. Learn more at bluelava.net.
And we're live. Actually, we're not live, we're recording. So the people that are going to listen to this, which I hope you're doing right now, people in the audience, you're up for what I think is a good conversation in the channel that we call Audio Signals. It's a tiny different from what the ITSP Magazine channels are about, which are always about topic at the intersection of either cybersecurity and society, technology and society, either the intersection of all the three of them. And it's very hard to find a topic that doesn't fit in there. But even with that in mind, we created Audio Signals so we can talk about many different things. And one thing that I'm actually doing lately is talking to mentors. And the reason at this point I think you should know is because I joined the Mentor Project not too long ago, which is a fantastic organization. And I just meet an incredible amount of people that have the more exciting project in front of them. And they're also mentors, of course, and they're giving back to the community. So today, I think we're going to end up talking about mentorship. We're going to talk about technology. And we're going to talk about going to the moon. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to bring the guest for today's episode, which is Mary Hagi, and she's one of the mentor and also CEO and co-founder of Moonmark. Mary, welcome to this show. You're going to have to tell us what this is.
Well, thank you, Marco. Thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it. So you just kind of slid that thing in there, and we're going to talk about the moon. And
I get excited about space. You don't know me personally, but even if my background is in political science, sociology, I just get excited about space. So when I saw what you were doing, I was like, oh my God, we got to talk about this. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. So maybe I did get a little ahead of myself here.
Oh no, not at all, not at all, and my pleasure. So, in the context of what we're talking about today, I am, like you said, the founder and CEO of Moonmark, and Moonmark is an entertainment and education platform that will enable young people from around the world to create, compete and create vehicles that are going to race on the moon. And there actually is a wonderful intersection of what we are doing with technology and society. It's actually at the DNA level of what we're doing, and also cybersecurity. So I think we have a lot to talk about. Let me just share this with you, that we started Moonmark with the intent to offer young people. We started it, COVID hadn't hit yet, but it did about a month after we started the company. And so what we've been doing is that we're offering young people the ability to participate in a competition, of qualifying rounds that will enable us to get to 8 teams of 5 young people. Though the qualifying rounds are initially going to be virtual. And then when we get through those rounds, we'll have 8 teams that will compete to become the final 2 that will travel to Houston and Johnson Space Center, and then ultimately to Kennedy Space Center, where their work will go up on a SpaceX rocket, land on the moon, and race on the moon. And then after that is over with, because we don't believe in space debris, we actually have a great scientific application that we're working on with the Italian Institute of Physics that will be a georeflector, and it will be operational for probably about 30 years. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. I hope you have, 5-6 hours, because I got so many questions and I want to know so much more about this. First of all, I was looking at your website and I see you have so many people involved in this project. You mentioned, some Italian research center, and I am Italian myself, so I'm very excited to hear that. And then you have car designers, so you have, of course, space engineers and connection. And so the first thing that comes to my mind is, not too long ago, we had a conversation with this journalist that wrote a book about the DARPA Grand Challenge, the one where years ago we were for the first time trying to race autonomous vehicles in the desert. And it's probably, at the first time it wasn't that good, right? And now, not too many years later, you're actually talking, not only we're seeing autonomous cars in the street, but we're also seeing and hear from you that we're going to do this on the moon. What stage are we right now that we can so easily talk about something like this and remotely control something on the moon? Or I don't know what level of autonomy there is in there. What is given to these kids, to these teams, that they can actually use for this competition?
So that's a great question. And as we've gone through the process of development, you're right. We have people with race car expertise, with racetrack expertise, with space expertise, with engineering, technology. One of our advisors is Renee Wen, who was the immediate past chief information officer for NASA. Mm-hmm. And JJ Snow, who is the head of innovation for the U.S. Air Force. And she is also a fellow mentor along with you and me in the Mentor Project. And so as we were going through the process, there's one of my partners, Todd Wallach, who is our chief technology officer. He said, we are going to need to have some adult supervision.
Yes. That sounds a lot more than what I would have been down as a kid myself. I highly suggest that.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic, Marco, because what we intended and are creating is really an opportunity for young people to do something that we like to call the defining moment of a generation. So this is not astronauts that are walking on the moon. These are young people from all over the world that are going to participate in making their mark on the moon. So because the moon belongs to all of us, right? This is not a nationalistic effort at all. I came up with the idea after I heard about the real commercialization of space. And that's kind of a lofty thing, but I thought, well, if space is going to be commercialized, and it already is, then there's going to be a generation that is going to have to accept stewardship of managing that process. And with a lot of spirited discussion about whether we should focus on college young people or high school young people, we decided on high school. And I've had experience not only as a mentor, but also as someone who has created projects for high school students.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the ability to absolutely stun you with what they can do. So when I say adult supervision, I'm not talking about the limitations of their capabilities. I'm talking about, when you are offering something of this magnitude, which I probably have a higher tolerance for risk than most people. As a high performance driver, though, myself, I know that you don't drive fast, you drive safe.
Right.
Because if you don't drive safe, then you're not going to drive fast very long. So so for the adult supervision piece, it really is, how do we enable the right infrastructure for the success of the young people who are going to compete? Because again, at the DNA of Moonmark is really about this generation at a turning point of humanity, when we are going into space and there is literally, Marco, it kind of stuns me still to say this, but it's true. There are quadrillion dollars that is going on in space commercialization. So that's what they're going to be facing as humans on the Earth. And as we know, when money gets involved, humans tend to do things like what we're experiencing in Eastern Europe right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, money, it's always the driver, even for the good thing. I mean, I look at that as, for some reason, that's what attract ventures. I mean, there are people, inventors and scientists, that they do it for the good reason, whatever, that good reason of expanding our own knowledge and exploring and going beyond what we already know. But most of the time, if you throw a little bit of cash in there, you're moving more wheels. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
there's no doubt about that. So, what we're doing at Moonmark is offering young people the opportunity to explore what their future could be. And it doesn't have to be that they go to space. In order to, for example, get to the moon and race on the moon, that's what we're doing, right? It's a platform for young people to explore what their passions are on Earth. So
can I stop you a second? Because
sure.
So these teams from all over the world, they come together. I'd like to know a little bit more details in envisioning what they will be doing, because from your website, I was seeing that they design, build, land, and race 2 autonomous vehicles on the moon. And of course, they don't do that by themselves, because they will be incredibly, resourceful and with a lot of cash as well. So you have this infrastructure that you present. You have all this expertise. You have all this company involved in it. So what do the team members do, and who can be part of the team member? I mean, what are the qualifications to get and be joining this incredible adventure?
I love that question, and it's one that I get often, and about what is the composition of the teams, how are they formed, and that sort of thing. And Marco, what we are doing is demonstrating faith in the ability of young people to come together for a common purpose. So we're not choosing the team members. They're forming their own teams. What we're doing is giving them the resources and advice from mentors in the Mentor Project and others for them to be competitive. So what that means is, in order to be the most competitive team that goes through all of the qualifying rounds, and then becomes one of the 8 that will compete in person, you have to have a composition in your team that supports science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Those are the teams that are going to win, and they're going to race on the moon. Okay, so we're kind of sliding in the STEAM piece of this. And when you look at what you all are doing, and the audience that is interested in your magazine, they really do need all of these skills. Not everyone is going to be a scientist, a technologist, an engineer, an artist, or a mathematician, but they need to have the skills and the wherewithal to bring those people around them in order to be successful. So I do want to talk about the art piece for a moment, because
Please.
the STEM, we've had fortunately a lot of emphasis on STEM, and the art piece of Moonmark is incredibly. It's like I say, at the DNA of what we started to do. And that is for these young people to understand that you can go to the moon, you can go to an asteroid, you can go to Mars, you can go to, wherever, okay? But why would we do that? What are the ethics behind it? What decisions need to be made in the best interest of humanity? Rather than just going into space, making a lot of money, and for what reason? So the civic aspect of Moonmark is really at the heart of the art, and all of these students are going to have to wrestle with some really interesting questions, and those are going to be related to, again, why are we doing this? Why would we do this? Why don't we fix climate change on Earth? Why are we killing people on Earth and we're talking about racing on the moon? It's all a very, very integrated web of experiences that we intend to reach as many. Our prime directive, so to speak, in Star Trek parlance, is that Moonmark is going to reach as many people on Earth and in space as possible, okay? Because the moon, like I said, belongs to everyone. So it's a platform upon which to learn, and also to explore responsibilities for the future. And all of that is absolutely going to include what can we do in this process that is can be applied on Earth to fix the problems down here.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, one of our channel where we talk about, we call it redefining technology. It's all about this. It's about technology doing the right thing and serving humanity to evolve, and not to just follow the blinking light. And so asking the why are we developing this technology and why can we do this? So it becomes, as you said, philosophical and ethical conversation. And it's amazing for me to see how much more philosopher we actually need in the STEM. And you kind of pointed to that one, and designer and thinker from all sort of background. And so I'm very, very excited about this. And talking about designing, you have part of the team, someone that has been designing sport cars and an incredible machine on Earth, and now it's team up with you, Frank Stephenson. Can you tell me about, because I see some of the design and these vehicles that will compete, they almost look like overboard from Back to the Future with wheels or skateboards. I don't know, maybe because I'm in LA, so I can connect that. Tell me about the importance of moving all these parts. Like, so, like, for example, you said, it's not just the technology, it's putting together different thinkers. So even the design aspect of this, as you mentioned, it's important, right? So how does this come about into the overall project, and how to use all of this to bring us together, everybody interested in this and interested in space, the moon, and whatever, help us to then ultimately know each other better here on the moon, and hopefully with all things happening, behave a little bit better too. But so tell me about that. Tell me about the designer aspect of the project.
Sure. Frank Stephenson is based in London. He truly is a legendary designer, and we could not have a better partner in the actual design of the car. So when we were talking a few minutes ago, it was about minimizing risk for the success of the competitors. So Frank is a perfect amalgam of art, engineering, and science. I mean, the man is I can't wait to introduce the young people to him, because number one, he's just a great human being, and he's very passionate about what we're doing. And so we talked about how far could we take the design of these two race cars, and still not only the art of the design, but also the space worthiness. So the last thing that we need is for these vehicles to get up there and they don't work.
Yes. You don't want to do that.
No, we don't want to do that. When you look at, when I make decisions about Moonmark, and I do it obviously in concert with our team, it's about does this move the needle on our prime directive? Does this serve the young people? Will this enable them to be successful? So that's how we got to getting by the way, you can't see the design. The design is what he's come up with. Holy cow. We're going to be doing a reveal in the next few months of what that design is.
All right. I just saw some rendering somewhere, so I guess nothing to do with that.
He had what you see on our website is it's a rendering that he came up with on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, she's just a brilliant man. Wow. So the actual racers are going to be revealed, like I say, in the coming months. So with the adults that are involved here is how far can we take this, make them lunar worthy, but also enable a really, really meaningful interaction by the young people.
So the input for this comes always from the young team that are part of this, and people like Stevenson, they're just helping develop their idea. and bringing their expertise to the table, but it's driven by the kids, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. So what
That's amazing.
you
That's
know,
amazing.
our responsibility is to make sure that we provide them the infrastructure and resources that they need to be successful. But this is about that generation and their defining moment, and their responsibility, because you can't. I'm pretty adamant about this. You can't race on the moon without a tuition, okay? Um, and that tuition is that they have a responsibility to communicate with their peers around the world. So it's not like we're going to put them into a situation where they're in a vacuum and, no, they have to engage as many people as possible. They're, not only their peers. I mean, we haven't really talked about Moonmark's media production.
I was gonna go there, so thank you for shortcut in there. Yes,
Sure.
because I'm envisioning. I want to see this when it happen. We will be able to do so.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because on our team there's this spirited discussion about what is real time,
Right. Time is relative, right?
Well, when when you're a few 100,000 miles away from where you're shooting.
Yeah.
So we are creating. It's more than a documentary, because it has a lot of different formats and things like this. But we are capturing the adventures of these young people all along the way, and the content that we create is going to be not only for them to pay their tuition, meaning they get to speak from their own personal experience about what they're doing and how they're competing and so forth, but also to communicate that with families of all ages, because that's what our prime directive is. But we really want these young people to speak to their peers. So we have a production partner that we are working with right now, and you're going to be able to see a lot that's going on.
Awesome. No, this is so exciting, and I was a little bit almost like, I had to stop and think about the consequences of all of this, because, as you said, a lot of people are asking, why do we go to the moon? Why do we go to Mars? Why we have all this plan? And of course, with all the problem that we have. But then I ask myself the reason why I like space so much, and it's because it is a way to know yourself as humans on this planet. And I'm not even going to talk about the fact that eventually, if we survive, we're going to have to go somewhere else in a few billions of years. But that's a problem from other generation. But what I'm saying is, this is like when I look at all the moment that put nations together, the entire planet together. I mean, the landing on the moon itself has been one of those moments. Mm-hmm. And every time that I see the International Space Station, and I'm so sad that I heard that it's going to be, crashing down relatively soon. It's been to see a global community coming together without boundaries, without borders, without nationality, and just being earthlings and humans as we are. So to know that there is the young generation that comes together and do this, and the older generation with the expertise they're helping, for me, it's that's why I said I had to stop and process it, because I think it's incredible. And I also feel like all of this, of course, I can tell it's your mission. It's pure and organic in a way. Like there is no second meaning to all of these, and that's probably why you're also involved in the mentor project. And I would like to talk a little bit about this, because everything you said, I could sense the mentor attitude, the mentor inspiration that you have when you talk. But tell me a little bit more about how you decided to get involved with Deborah and the mentor project. And you mentioned JJ, which is also the reason why I am part of that. I had JJ on the show once, and I just fall in love with everything she was doing. She's so incredibly inspirational, that JJ and so many other people on the mentor project. So tell me a little bit about your involvement there, and how it does work with maybe in connection, also in a synergy with the Moonmark project as well.
Oh, sure. So I became involved in both Debbie Heiser, the founder and CEO of the Mentor Project, and JJ Snow are just force majeures. I mean, they are changing so many lives for the better, and these are people who, like you and me, are not in their teenage years anymore, but have sufficient experience and interest and dedication to helping and seeing these young people find their way. And so I became involved with the Mentor Project for the reason that it's an organization. So I've mentored young people, and I've mentored laterally for as long as I can remember. Okay, because it's just such a joyous experience, and the opportunity to work with the Mentor Project was very, very appealing to me, because I got to meet people like you, and to really, the mentor experience is one that is so gratifying, and to be able to share it with other mentors, as well as have connections to young people that can benefit from whatever advice or introductions or whatever you can provide as a mentor. That's a gift. It really is. It's a gift. And so when I was talking with Debbie about Moonmark and what we are doing, she became very excited about it, as well as JJ. And so now we're in the process as we go through this. And I do want to circle back to technology for a moment, and sociology. But the opportunity to work with the people in the Mentor Project is just a real delight, and it's an honor to be a part of it.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm relatively new to all of this, but it already been such an inspiration that I kind of just want to do that only. And I feel like my conversation style when we host podcasts has changed, thinking about that every time. I mean, unless we talk about heavy cybersecurity and business and that kind of stuff, or I always think about this concept of, what if a younger person is listening to the podcast, and can I, maybe with 3 words, a sentence, or a half an hour, a conversation like this one, can we change somebody's life because we make them think about something that they can focus on their future and become involved into that? And if you can do that, I don't think there is a better reward in life than that. So I appreciate you telling all of that. And you mentioned you want to go back and to the connection of technology and society, or in sociology. Mm-hmm. Please do so, because that's my that's my guilty pleasure right there. Let's do it.
Well, as we've been going through the process, I mean, it's easy to say, well, just go to the moon, land on the moon, race on the moon, then have a scientific experiment. But there are, I don't know, 2 billion moving parts to this. And there are certain things that we have learned that were unexpected. It's a bonus for me because there are certain things that we thought were like a check in the block, and it's turned out to not be that way at all. And so what we're doing is we are advancing technology for space exploration without that having been the original intent. And I'll give you an example of that. So we thought, for example, that we already had the communications piece of this locked down, meaning when the racers land on the surface, that there will be communications between them and the lander and Earth, right? And we thought that was already taken care of, and it is in a very, very rudimentary manner. So because we are creating content, video content, audio content, and it is going to be intended for wide distribution, it has to have a much higher level of quality, right, than currently exists. And the actual communications, not only the capture of what we're doing, the moon and Earth, the stakes are much higher here because we have people, like I was saying, what is the definition of real time, and is that like 2 seconds, or is
Mm-hmm.
So we are working to solve for that problem, right? And what that means is that what Moonmark is creating, the pathways that we're forging technologically, are going to contribute to the ability for scientists and explorers to do their job better when they get there. So that's what I wanted to share about technology.
So you what I get from this is that when you find yourself facing technology, is not just a technology problem. It's kind of the same thing we say often when we talk about cybersecurity. It become a human problem because you realize that the synergy, the intersection between all the components are way past technology itself. So you're exploring this, you face a problem, and you realize that, wait a minute, we're going to have to involve other entity that maybe we didn't know we needed to. And am I correct?
Oh, yes. And you sure are.
And how, I just was checking, like that I'm not just going freestyling here, but also, can you give me an example of, and maybe we put our futurist hats on for a second, how do you see these multiplying as we do more things on the moon? And I'm going to mention JJ a second here, because I remember she had a podcast about 3D buildings on the moon, right? So instead of bringing bricks on the moon, which of course we can't, we will have to use the resources of the moon for a lot of things, and other planets, and be able to have robotics that will build that stuff for us. So even in that case, especially when you talk about colonization, you're talking about, I mean, we need to come together as a society to do something like this. So in what way do you think, maybe the ways that we're not really talking about right now, we will have to get all more involved into this. What kind of problem and solution we will have to come out as a society when we're talking about going to the moon, not just to race the car, which is a fantastic start, but for colonizing it. And I don't like the word colonize it, but you know what I mean.
Habitate is what
yes.
we use. And yes, there is much discussion in our team, and like you were saying earlier, at some point in time, because of the decisions that we've made as humans, the likelihood is we got to go somewhere at some point in time. So I am a really, really strong advocate of robotic operations on the lunar surface. I'm a little quizzical about, do we really need to habitate the moon? Or do we need to figure out how to do operations on the moon that will get us what we need in terms of scientific advancement? But it's not necessary that a bunch of people go up there and live there for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't pretend to know the answer to the question. I'd have to have some really strong persuasiveness to get me to think that it really makes sense for us to have, people up there doing what? That we can't do it remotely. And that's definitely going to be one of the questions that we propose, or we pose to our students, is, is it necessary for humans to operate that? Or is there something that we can do remotely that will serve the same purpose? And oh, by the way, if you're a space aficionado, then you know that the regolith on the moon dust, is wicked. Mm-hmm. It is really wicked. I mean, that's another technological thing that we're grappling with, is making sure that the racers don't end up, stuck in the regolith, right? Mm-hmm. It's just one of those practical things. So, but if you're going to operate robotics in that kind of harsh environment, there does need to be protection for them. So the 3D buildings and so forth that JJ was talking about are absolutely necessary. But the fact that we can get there and we can create them, I mean, I'm not suggesting that this would all be done remotely. There's going to have to be some human interaction, or it's like we said, adult supervision. But what are the reasons why people would go there and live? What is the scientific outcomes? What are the sociological outcomes of making that decision? I don't know. I can't wait to hear what the young people have to say about that.
Well, you know what? I can't wait either, because first of all, Asimov was saying that a long time ago. So just thinking sci-fi, which always is a long way to predict our future from a technological perspective, anyway. And I think is a very relevant question, very, very philosophical at the core of how are we going to invest our money. Talking about going to live on Mars, or travel, in space, where our lifespan, it's a little bit limited compared with what a robotics pilot could do. So maybe we're kind of taking away a little too much from Star Trek and Star Wars and all of that. But I think it's an important question, and I'm kind of happy to close the conversation with that, because if you ever want to come back and talk about the philosophical aspect of space exploration, I will be more than happy to have that conversation with you and with other people, maybe member of your team or member of the mentor project. We can totally have that the chat, because I found it very intriguing and a defining moment for the future. And but let's start with what is happening now, which is what Moonmark is doing, what the Mentor Project is doing with you. And I thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I'm sure there could be a lot more that we can talk about. And again, hopefully we will. And any last few words? Do you want to invite people maybe to participate? Is there a way for people to participate into these? Young kids, school, anybody? How can people get involved with this?
That's a great question. We are right now. We are there's the impact of COVID has really barked us on the shin. Okay, so we are dependent on a lander. Rockets go up all the time, right? With satellites, or they go to the space station, or that's normal operations that are continuing. Landing on the moon is a completely further set of circumstances, right? And so the impact of COVID is that it shook the supply chain in a way that has caused schedule delays and things like that, right? And then here comes, the war in Ukraine. The impact of that is that commercializing space, which is what the part that we're involved with, and our lander companies are involved with. What happens when a war breaks out is that there are priorities in government that get shifted. So instead of being, prioritizing a commercial object or objective, the military can take priority. So all of those things mean it's going to take longer to get to the moon than we originally anticipated. So what Moonmark is doing right now is we are coming up with challenges for young people that we can engage them. We have no control on when these landers can go up, right? We're just doggone glad to be on one. But that does give us pause because there are practical aspects to this that a lot of people don't know. And cybersecurity is definitely one of them. Mm-hmm. Definitely one of them. So,
yeah, we didn't touch on that, but I think there's way too many things to talk about.
Oh, it's top of mind.
Yeah,
believe me. Well, thank you so much, Marco, for having me on the program today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a great opportunity to talk to you for the first time. I hope for all the people that have been listening, if you're interested in knowing more about this, there will be links on the podcast notes and links to Mary's resources and social media. And Mary, if you want to share with us any relevant link that people can click to learn more about the project, and feel free to do so. And I hope people enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And thank you again, Mary.
Thank you. Go to moonmark.space. Thank you so much, Marco. Have a great day.
Same to you.
Blue Lava is the first business platform for CISOs to manage their security program. Blue Lava guides security leaders to effectively measure, optimize, and communicate their security program with confidence and ease in one platform. Learn more at bluelava.net.
Nintex is the global standard for business process management and automation. The Nintex platform helps their clients accelerate progress on their digital transformation journeys by quickly and easily managing, automating, and optimizing business processes. Learn more at nintex.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Audio Signals. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society, and some even beyond that.